The great success of Breath of the Wild in 2017 was to create a video game that defied the conventions of open-world game that existed in the market up to that point. Instead of following a two-dimensional design philosophy where map size was valued more than gameplay depth, Breath of the Wild embraced a three-dimensional design philosophy. This results in a more compact Hyrule compared to other games in the genre, such as Assassin's Creed, but with a density per square meter like never before. There was never a moment in the game where you couldn't find something to do, whether it was short-term objectives like encountering a monster camp or long-term goals like reaching the mountaintop in the distance. All of this was made possible by carefully crafted layered design, ensuring that the player always had visible point of interest that set the pace of the game. Much has been said about this aspect, but essentially, Breath of the Wild fostered a gameplay loop based on short, medium, and long-term objectives. For example, on your way to one of the villages that will allow you to progress in the main story, you might go off-road because you spot a dragon soaring through the sky. You decide to pursue it and end up discovering a cave full of monsters to battle. Now you are far from your original destination, but along the way you have experienced something as satisfying, if not more so, than the final destination itself. And the best part? All of this happens based on your own decisions. You chose to pursue the dragon, you chose to enter the cave, and you chose to get lost in the map because the game is designed for that. That's the magic of Breath of the Wild. Every decision you make becomes a unique story in itself. However, we are not here to talk about Breath of the Wild. The reason for revisiting what we already know about the previous Zelda game is to establish a foundation for the video, just as Tears of the Kingdom is based on Breath of the Wild. The Hyrule in Tears of the Kingdom could have been very different. They could have kept the original map intact and added another completely new region of the same size, but that would have meant discarding the design philosophy that made the original great. Instead, Tears of the Kingdom expand the world on the vertical axis, both in terms of playable area and how you interact with it. To better understand what I mean, let's take a brief look at the mechanics introduced in Tears of the Kingdom. On one hand, we have the power to reverse time, which is an expansion of the original time-stopping mechanic in Breath of the Wild. Then we have the Ultra Hand, which allows us to manipulate objects at will. This ability is a direct evolution of the magnet in Breath of the Wild, but now we can use it on any object we see. Furthermore, this ability allows us to combine objects, completely replacing the ability to create ice that we use to reach high places or cross water, among other things. So far, we have only mentioned two of Link's new power, but you can already see the design philosophy followed by Aonuma and his team in creating this sequel. Instead of adding new mechanics that are only used on specific areas of the game, as in two-dimensional design, they focused on deepening the existing ones, prioritizing quality over quantity, as in three-dimensional design. This has resulted in a level of polish where we only need these two mechanics to spend hundreds of hours playing the game. We don't miss the ability to create ice blocks because now we can build our own structures. We don't long for a guardian turret mechanic because we can create our own robots. We don't need additional forms of aerial transportation because we can create infinite vehicles to reach our objectives. Tears of the Kingdom expands like a Matryoshka doll, but the best example of this is the revamped map of Hyrule. The major innovation that Tears of the Kingdom promotes compared to Breath of the Wild are the Sky Islands. We could return to the same familiar Hyrule, but now the sky would be filled with a sort of islands with an area comparable to the surface. What we didn't know is that this novelty came in a double package. In contrast to the Sky Islands, we also have the underground of Hyrule, a vast subterranean world that extends beneath the surface, with a darker and rougher tone than the Hyrule we knew in 2017. And this change in tone is the great success of Tears of the Kingdom. Both of the underground and the Sky Island not only differ in artistic terms, the Sky Islands are unmistakable with their warm hues and predominance of yellows, while the underground is a large dark expanse with cold and purple tones, but they are also played and explored in a noticeably different ways from the surface Hyrule. While the gameplay loop in the base Hyrule, which we have already discussed, follow the same path established in Breath of the Wild, the underground envelopes us in a darkness that stretches across the terrain and the evil aura that hinders our progress. The darkness is tangible, preventing us from seeing what is just a few meters away. Enemies are fiercer than ever, and when they damage us, they not only decrease our current health, but also permanently reduce the overall percentage of our health. The evil aura permeates the environment, constantly forcing us to find ways to overcome it in order to reach our destination, which we can't even see. From the moment we ascend into the depths of Hyrule, we learn that here we must be more cautious, advance more slowly, and become more familiar with the map. We must be better prepared and remain attentive to the new danger that may lurk just a few meters away. Ultimately, we must learn to play differently. And even more different is the gameplay on the Sky Islands. Their creativity, ingenuity, and a more strategic approach are emphasized. The mere act of reaching one of the islands is challenging itself, but once there you have to plan how to navigate the island to even have a chance of solving the puzzle it presents. Mobility becomes an important factor here, whether it's using the sun and gadgets, the new infiltration ability, or a combination of objects. The mobility that we took for granted on the surface becomes something you must earn here. So, alright, we have these three distinct ways of interacting with Tears of the Kingdom represented by the different layers of Hyrule. Each one has its own gameplay loops and already makes for a great game on its own, but there's one final detail that takes it to excellence. Instead of being three unrelated zones, Tears of the Kingdom connects them in a masterful way, turning them into their own entity, a grand gameplay loop that builds upon what we had before in the different areas of the game. These three maps are not isolated from each other, but together they form a large map that utilizes verticality as its main asset. There are areas in the underground that you can only access by launching yourself from a very specific point in the Sky Islands, which in turn can only be reached from the surface. There are other areas that will require you to seek out customs to access the underground because the topography of the environment prevents you from progressing normally. In this way, the already immense and tremendously addictive gameplay loop is triple in depth and variety of situations, making it feel like you are practically playing three games at once. Well, there has been much talk about inspiration from Majora's Mask in relation to Ocarina of Time in these Tears of the Kingdom, and the inspiration is obviously here, and it's understood where it comes from. I believe there are two other games that may have even inspired this title more. I'm referring to the Game Boy releases The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages. These games released for Game Boy Color employ a marketing strategy popularized by Pokémon at the time. Two games were released simultaneously, with one focusing on puzzles and offering a slower paced gameplay, while the other leaned towards action. This way, each player could choose the game they preferred or enjoy a complete experience by playing both titles. In Tears of the Kingdom, the exact same idea is followed in the game design. While on the surface you will find a balanced gameplay experience, in the underground we delve into action and exploration-oriented gameplay, while the Sky Island offers creativity and cleverness in solving their puzzles. But all of this would be meaningless if they had forgotten what made Breath of the Wild so special. The development team designed the world with this principle in mind but never indicated a right way to play it. That decision is up to you as the player. It doesn't matter if you choose to spend most of your time exploring the underground and facing the darkness that surrounds it, leaving the Celestial Island aside. It also doesn't matter if you find the underground too oppressive and prefer to venture into the vast territories of Hyrule with your horde, enjoying the beautiful landscape the game offers. Either way, in Tears of the Kingdom you will always find a way to express yourself, to control the pace, and to make the game truly yours like never before. And this is all for today. I'm out, but not before thanking you for joining me until the end. If you enjoyed my thoughts, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like to support the content. So, this is it. See you in the next video.